that should inspire them to do more. You know what I mean? It should make them, coach is doing it with us. And I think that's cool. I used to, when I trained the recruits, when I used to do the recruits and get them ready for the academy, I did everything with them.
That was my drill.
I got down
and I respected
every push
them
up,
for it.
every run, every pull up, everything. Come on, let's go.
This is gonna hurt. It's time for the Suffering Podcast.
All right, feel bad about it. Nobody's telling you did anything wrong. The pros strike out plenty of times. It's not about that. It's about picking yourself up. But it's almost like Mike and I have talked about this before. It's almost you want your kids to taste a little failure just to see how they react. Because I don't know about you, as a coach, I learn way more from a kid who fails and watching them, how they lose or how they fail, than winning.
And it's how they pick themselves up after it, too.
Your true judge of character is how you handle adversity.
Mm-hmm.
And on the football field, as a team, you will face adversity. It could be your best player gets injured. It could be, you're just not having your best day and this team's up on you and you should be killing them. And it's what you do, how you pick yourself up, how you handle it. That's because the going isn't always good, and that's every sport. But in football, it's just a little different. Everything's just a little different with football. And that's where you teach these kids. Like I coach them to deal with the adversity. And it's how much they believe in you as a coach. They we're not doing this for, like I said, this is free. Volunteer all the way. And I do it so they look at me and they go,
but
okay.
I teach the way my philosophy of coaching is a lot like you had in the police academy. That's my philosophy of coaching. So if I'll pick out the individuals on the team, and they're very easy to spot. Very, and you break them down as individuals and you build them back up as a team. And it's tough, but it's a little bit of finesse because I have to talk to the parents. I said, look, this is what I'm doing. This is my coaching plan. Just bear with me. It's not that I hate your kids, because in reality, you can't ever raise your voice to a kid if that kid doesn't know that you love them. Like all of your players, I'm sure you become very bonded to all of your players. And they wouldn't listen to you unless it's coming from a place of love.
But aren't you as a coach pretty much molding these kids for the rest of their lives?
Yes.
That's why.
Because you're going to see failure. I used to tell the kids all the time, 72 Dolphins are the only team that ever went undefeated in any sport.
Yep.
You're going to lose games.
You're going
to lose games. You're going to taste failure.
Losing is part of life.
Losing is the best learning tool.
Yeah, it is. And you said something interesting about the police academy. I draw from all my experiences in life when I coach. You don't even realize you're doing it. I had 75 people in my class. I won a PT award. It was mine. It was mine the minute I walked in there. I was older than everybody. I was like 30. Everyone who was 20-something, I was like, nobody's going to beat me in this thing. Every category, I'm going to blow everybody out of the water. It was my Olympics. Like, swear to God, it was my time to shine. I sound silly.
He still has the gold medal at home.
Dude,
he made it himself.
Got the fucking thing.
It's confidence.
I was like, I said, can I get a ring? No, but seriously, I won it. And I was upset because they treated me like I was better than everybody else. They treated me and they made other people feel bad that they couldn't do certain things. And I knew even then that just because I won some fucking PT award ain't going to make me any better of a police officer. It really isn't, because I know plenty of cops who couldn't fucking do that mile and a half that well and were slow as shit and, couldn't do more than 30 push-ups, but they're fantastic cops because it's way more than that. Yeah, it helps you in certain situations. You know what I mean? Being fit.
I'm surprised they didn't go after you for having that attitude.
Well, no, they did. They tried to, but I'm a very confident individual. I always stay strong, and I was like, I just won the PT award. Fuck. You know what I mean? I had that attitude with them, and I did plenty of push-ups in the hallway because of it. But I always stuck up for the weaker kid. I hung out with everybody. We came from a small town, and I was friends with everybody. The nerds, the geeks, the non-athlete guys, the guys
the stoners, the sports.
Yeah, everybody. We were friends with everybody, and I had compassion for people. I'm like, listen, if you can't cut it as a cop, then you can't cut it. But some of these guys are real good. They got the shit. They were good shooters. They did all the extractions from the vehicles well, and they were treating them like they were losers because they couldn't fucking do 50 push-ups.
There's a fine line. There's a fine line between cockiness and confidence. So one of our friends, Lee Roussan, he played in the blue and gray game, and on the bus, he told us this story out of his own mouth. On the bus, he sits down, guy sits down next to him and says this, I am Jerry Rice, the greatest wide receiver in the NFL. And he wasn't even in the NFL yet. Same way that you went into the police academy with that confidence, you know, you made yourself into it. At some way, you don't want to break that confidence, because that confidence can be a very valuable asset, but you need to build the team around that confidence, almost bring everybody up to the same level of confidence in order to believe in themselves. I don't know, but if you saw a kid come on the field with that type of, I don't know whether it's cockiness or confidence, what would you do? How would you handle it?
I'd feed off of it. I'd see where it goes, you know, and I'd have to dial it back at a time. But, you know, I want kids to come on the field and be super cocky. I don't want them talking shit. I don't want them to make their teammates feel like shit. I want them to, you develop leadership. That's one of the biggest things in football, right? Teamwork, and you find out who your real leaders are. They should be your captains. It shouldn't be because, you know, Dad's been coaching for, no, let's throw him a bone. He should be a captain. Oh, let's make a team captain. That kid couldn't captain his way to the fucking bathroom. No, he's good for what he does. He blocks, and that's it. He ain't going to be no captain. I ain't throwing bones out there. I'm kind of hardcore old school with that shit. You got to display something to the team that they, as a teammate, I can look up to you and say, Mike Failce. I'm looking up. I'm not lying. I looked up to Mike. I was a lot taller than him, but I always looked up to him when we were kids because
Had to get on your knees.
Mike was just a really good guy. And he was a really good guy to play. We played sports together, like in playground stuff. He was just a really good person, and I always looked up to him because he always had your back. That was the other thing, and that's part of football. I want my guy over here to have my back. I got to know my job. You got to know your job. If all 11 players know their job, you're going to have success, right? But then you start getting involved and become a little more complicated. What's the left tackle doing on this play? You don't know? Some kids don't have the IQ for it, but some kids do. And if you start learning what everybody else is doing, you have their back. Just like if I was walking home from school and some fucking 8th grader was going to start a fight with me and Mike was with me, guess what? We were going to have a fight, or they weren't going to fight because Mike was with me. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you have my back. And that's a weird analogy, but it's true. And that transpires how you grow up and how you do things transpires into football.
Just getting back to the cockiness and confidence. When you're a confident player, it's going to show on the field. If you're just a cocky, arrogant asshole on the field.
I think it has to do a little bit with parenting. I really do.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I think it has to do with how you raise your kids.
How many kids got dropped off on the field and say, here, parent my kid?
Yeah, exactly.
You became
everyone's
parent.
You became a babysitting service.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And you know what?
It's 6 o'clock. What time's practice? Over 8:30, or I'll be back at 8:30?
You're trying to say the cockiness is masking a deficiency.
It could be.
I think so.
Yeah, it's possible.
I think
it's called low self-esteem.
Yeah, that's what
and
it is.
Some people that have low self-esteem want to appear to be something. Like I always say, it's a lot of these high school programs that are big-time programs, they get really good players. I'm not saying all of them. There's particular few of them. The head coach is fantastic. His offensive coordinator, his DC is good. Then all the other coaches, they want to appear to be coaches.
Yeah.
And I hope no one takes offense to that. But if you do, tough shit. It's true. Oh, I'm on so-and-so staff, and all I have to do is this, and I'm on that step. But how effective really are you? You know what I mean? Why do I see your defensive backs doing this stupid shit out there? If you're the DB coach, you're supposed to be telling them how do they do a press? Where are they supposed to be? Are your receiver stemming the fucking defensive back that's taking an inside position, or is he just fucking running his route and not going, well, who's the receiver coach? I mean, these are the things that I think about. You know what I mean? And I'm like, I want to appear. I don't want everyone to appear to be anything. I want to be that thing, you know?
But with the cockiness, I have seen cocky football players that take a loss. Like I had a kid, great play, like athlete, really horrible loser, like absolutely horrible loser. And I've spent 2 years working on this kid and working on that. He comes in off a little cocky when he wants to play, but I've seen him lose and just break down. And I said, I keep telling him, every time I see him now, I said, who's your biggest enemy? And he already knows the answer. It's myself. Like that's what he knows. He knows that is. And I'm just going to drill that into his head, because this is the type of kid, if he's coached early enough, and that cockiness, which is a deficiency because he doesn't know how to lose, if we can erase that and replace it with confidence and being able to pick up the rest of his team to raise to that high tide, raising all the boats, he can be something special. And I know he can. It's not my son. It's a friend of mine's son, but there's a way to coach around that.
You know, you're coaching each individual, not just the team, too. That's the other thing we failed to realize. You know, a lot of times practice is kind of a generic thing, but I always try to on the youth level, you really get to spend a lot of time with certain players. So you get to talk to them one-on-one, build up their confidence. You know who has the low self-esteem, who's the cocky kid who thinks he's better than everybody else, but he's really not. He's making up for a deficiency, but he can do something good for the team. You got to put him somewhere. You got to put him in the right spot. And you gotta build them up, you know, and sometimes you gotta break them down a little bit too. But that can happen on a one-on-one thing. I don't think it should happen
in front of the whole team.
Yeah, it's not a good idea.
100%
Every
correct.
now and then, the whole team will get broken down all at once. You know what I mean? Because they need a little wake-up check. They start thinking they're having, you know, they get a little too confident themselves as a team. They get together. But then you see who your leaders are and who, if they come together as a team and they start doing things and you don't have to do that part of the coaching, you've done your job.
But I think it's getting over those mental blocks with kids.
Yeah. No.
I do, like, that's my big thing. I teach them how to get over mental blocks. And one of my proudest moments as a coach, one of my absolute proudest moments. So we did snakes often for conditioning after practice. Well, one time I call out a 100-yard snake. Now, at the time, I'm in such pain with my hips. My hips were just destroyed. I couldn't run. I couldn't do anything. I said, I'll tell you what. They knew I was in pain every single practice. I said, I'll run the snakes with you. So some of the kids, as soon as they call out a 100-yard snake, oh my God. Do you know there was one kid who, it's my proudest achievement because he would come in last in everything, and he just never believed in himself. He finished that 100-yard snake. And you had to see the look on his face because he got past that mental block. And he wasn't even last. There was some of my running backs were last. It was embarrassing. But I think getting kids over that mental block, instilling that confidence in them is going to produce such a much better football team. Because
you know, I
at that level anyway.
I always said in coaching, I wouldn't tell a kid to do something that I couldn't do. The one year when I was...
Except bear crawls. I tell them to do bear crawls all the time, and I hated bear crawls.
When I was volunteer coaching at the high school, I took over the summer conditioning for the football team. I did every drill with them. Every drill. And we were split up into like 3 different groups. You know, half of them, someone would be lifting, some would be, you know, running the bleachers, some would be...
They respect you more. I
did every drill with them. I said, if I could do it at 50 years old, you could do it.
And I'll tell you what, that's motivational for them. And that should inspire them to do more. You know what I mean? It should make them, coach is doing it with us. And I think that's cool. When I trained the recruits, when I used to do the recruits and get them ready for the academy, I did everything with them.
That was my drill.
I got down
and I respected
every push-up, every run, every pull-up, everything. Come on, let's go.
Yeah.
Who's going to beat me today in push-ups? That used to be the big thing. Who's going to beat me? Who thinks they can beat me in push-ups? So we used to do like contests and stuff like that. So,
even after retirement, everybody that got hired after me in Lyndhurst, I got them in shape for the academy on my own time. Even after I retired, the chief would call me and say, Mike, do me a favor. We just hired 4. Could you get them in shape for the academy? Out running at 5 o'clock in the morning every day with these recruits.
But that my police academy drill taught me how to coach. And that's the truth. Because again, he did everything with us. But conversely to that, we went to the range, and one of the guys from another department just liked to break balls. He was this big, fat, overweight guy. And he just liked to throw you down and do push-ups. Well, guess what? Everybody in that academy class called this guy a jerk-off. Nobody called the drill a jerk-off. And he did way more stuff to us, but he always did it with us. Until the one person, somebody drops, like it was a total of 75. I think somebody dropped 75 cents, and we had to do side straddle hops on a 4 count. Nobody realizes how hard that is.
Yeah.
Now, I'm relating coaching to the police academy. Do you think coaching is like a paramilitary thing like the police academy is? Do you have to break them down to build them up?
I believe that. I do.
I think the breaking part comes in mini camp, you know, because you're getting them in. They just had what they have of their summer. It's August 9th, and you're going to get them in there, and everybody went away and everyone in our program pretty much doesn't go on vacation in August. They're pretty good. They're committed. My big message is always that football is the biggest commitment you're ever going to make in your life. It just is. And you're going to find out why, because minicamp's starting. And it's conditioning. It's getting right into. Dude, I do offense and defense on my first night of minicamp. I get them all together. We do everything. We get to like a flood, a tidal wave of information right off the bat. And they walk off the field. And the other thing is I make the most of the 3 hours. Like there's no parents are sitting there going, listen, this is what I do. I outwork. I work.
I did a mini combine this year, which was great because I brought everybody in on a level playing field. Like we knew who the quarterback last year was. Well, sorry, you don't have a job and we did like a mini combine.
Everybody does that.
But the mini combine, and I used it. I had a whole scoring sheet by every coach, and we backed up everything. Okay, this guy was a quarterback. This is why he was the quarterback, because he can throw, he can move, he can do this and do this. This is why this guy's a lineman. This is why. And it solidified all of our decision making, and it also made the kids try and work a little bit harder.
It's good too, because sometimes you have a kid that comes along and he might be a little bit of a late bloomer, or he might want to try another position. And I always open it up and say, listen, same thing. Who wants to be a quarterback this year? Okay. Usually nobody, because it's the hardest position on the field to play, and it's the most responsibility, and no one wants to get blamed for everything. You know what I mean? So they don't. But every now and then there's a kid who steps up, or they more rather be a running back, receivers, and I give them the shot. And after like a few weeks, but while they're getting their shot, they're still playing their position that they normally played, but they're getting that shot too. And if they show me something, they'll get in there. If they don't, they go back to what they were doing.
See, the tough thing is 7th and 8th grade, kids' bodies are changing.
Yeah.
One kid will be he'll be a fat little, tackle one year. The next year he comes back and he's like jacked.
Yeah, he's like a tight end.
My son now, he's always been a lineman, but he's so much taller, and but I don't have anybody else for the line, so he's just stuck.
But what's going to happen is you're going to see when sometimes you get these teams, like you'll have a mediocre team on the 7th and 8th grade level, and those 8th graders are pretty good. They'll go to high school, but then that same group in high school is like winning a division, and you're like, shit, they were just like 500 when they were 8th graders, because the line got bigger. Like I use my school, for example. I have a great relationship with the high school coach and their program and what they're doing. I try to help as much as I can change the culture. That line that they have this year is huge, and they're all working out. They're like 270, the average size. They're humongous. If they can't run the ball and they can't, it'll be a travesty. I mean, and the defensive line, like deep. I'm talking like 9 defensive linemen.
Wow.
I mean, they're big and strong. So my point is they weren't when I had them. When I had them, I was like, Jesus Christ, I'm scraping the barrel here. I won the first round of the playoffs because God came down and played quarterback for me.
You brought theory in their lives. So if somebody came to you, being a coach for as long as you did, and said, what is the best piece of advice you could give somebody looking to get into coaching, especially on the junior league level?
It's going to sound generic. You got to do it for the right reasons. You got to know what your reason is. Okay, so my son is, he ever since he came out, he's been running around the house with a football. It's amazing. He's going to be the next Barry Sanders. Okay, pal. Here we go. Now you want to coach? Remember, he's not going to be the next Barry Sanders. He's not going to go to Bergen Catholic. He's not going to do anything. He isn't even going to play high school football. What he's going to do is he's going to play flag football, and you're going to coach it. And you're going to coach him and everybody else on that team the same way, exactly the same way. So if you're going to be overzealous towards your son, you're going to be overzealous towards everybody. If you're going to be the medium of the road guy, I don't want anybody to think I'm a daddy coach here, and I'm not concerned. I'm going to treat everybody the same way, but I'm going to be consistent, because consistency in life is a benefactor. Consistency in coaching is a main ingredient to be something special. If you're coaching, you should want to be special. You should want somebody to be standing out there. You should want the Mike Failce who's standing out there, look and say, he's a good fucking coach for some reason. Might not be because your scheme is so great. It might just be the way you approach the kids, the way you talk to them, the way you motivate them, something. But you need to look at it from the very beginning, and you have to stay consistent in your coaching career the same way. And you have to learn. You have to constantly learn.
It's really about learning what a kid's talent is and putting him in the right position to succeed.
Yeah.
Right? A kid could be a big kid, but he's very agile. Maybe you throw him a linebacker then.
You have too many coaches that put them where they think they should go.
Yeah, exactly.
And, actually, don't play to their strengths.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. You play to their strength or their talent.
If you have a good coaching, a good core, so your core is your head coach, your defense coordinator, your offense coordinator. Everybody else is like secondary coaches. No offense to them. They just are. If you're doing it the right way, then those guys are the best coaches you have in those spots. They're not there. Me and Joe always selected who was what. And it wasn't because of any other reason except what you brought to the table. All right. So when I came up to him, he made me his defensive coordinator, and there was other guys. And I think they were kind of pissed off about it. But he's like, we're a better football team now because of this. So just deal with it. But those guys make the decisions. And I've had kids that like, he's not a linebacker. He's a defensive end. I got to put him at defensive end. And I put them at defensive end. The kid's thanking me by the end of the year. Oh, I love playing defensive end.
Because they shine. They're always going to like what they're good at.
Because you have to judge talent, like Mike said. You have to judge talent. Judging talent is playing them where they're supposed to play. Now, that might change in high school. They might develop even more and become something else. But your job is to put them in a comfortable situation, get the most out of them, get them ready for the next level. See you later.
The one thing I always bring up is, do you remember Jared Lorenzen?
No.
He was a quarterback at University of Kentucky, and he was a backup with the Giants for a while. Big, fat quarterback. If you looked at him, you thought he'd be like a guard. They used to call him the hefty lefty.
But he was good.
Yeah.
Guy had a great career. He's still playing like the USFL now or whatever it is.
I want to really give you these guys because we don't have a lot of time left here.
Well, so we
Bob,
are.
You got all night, Bob.
We are coming to the end of this thing. Anything you want to plug? Anything you want to throw out?
Yeah. No, I want to present you guys with these T-shirts. I know they're not much, but we get T-shirts made every year, and it says North Arlington Junior Vikings football. That's our program in the Meadowlands Football League, and you're definitely not a size large. We know that.
Were you saying I'm fat?
No, just saying you might have had the fat gene. But,
Thank you, Bobby. I really appreciate it.
They're just regular T-shirts, and anything else. I'll have some more gear during the year, and I know you're coach. You're not going to be wearing the North Arlington Junior Vikings thing, but around the house or to the gym or something.
Absolutely,
the team he coaches is the Vikings too, right?
A little Vikings.
Yeah.
So absolutely, I'll tell you why.
Oh, that's what the V is for?
That's what the V is for. It's not vagina.
I was going to say vag. I wasn't going to go the whole vagina route. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's a bad word, right? Oh,
they can't even have a penis these days.
We're more than 5 minutes into this.
Bobby,
we can say it.
Non-binary.
I always love when you come by, Bob. So listen,
it's always a trip.
We are coming to the end of this thing here, and we were supposed to talk about. It's more about the suffering of coaching on this one. So
we can do a part 2.
If you could pick out what the suffering of coaching has taught you, what would it be?
I think to be true to yourself. Ultimately, you're getting something out of it because of you're doing something for somebody else. And so it's a reflection of you, and if I can walk away from coaching and say, I did my very best for these kids. I just wasn't there to appear to be something. Like I said before, I'm there to do what the very best I can do. It's not Bill Walsh. It's not Lombardi. It's not Buddy Ryan, but it's me. And I put my stamp on it, and hopefully I did the right thing and these kids got something out of it, and I was a positive piece of their football life. And that's the best way I can put it.
I can tell you all my football coaches growing up.
I got to say, my big thing is stay humble. You're not Bill Belichick. You're coaching junior kids football. Stop thinking that you're going to win a goddamn Super Bowl next week.
Yeah.
Stay humble and realize that you're molding these kids for their future.
You're a teacher.
That's really all you are.
You're a teacher.
Without the pay.
At its core, I think that's a good spot to leave it. At your core, you're a teacher. Bobby, thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
We always love having you. Thanks for the shirts, and go North Arlington Junior Vikings.
Well, listen, this means a lot to me because
is that your team?
I played for. It wasn't the Junior Vikings back then. It was the North Arlington Leaders. I went 6 years through that program.
Thank you very, very much.
You're welcome.
Really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
That's going to do it for this episode of the Suffering Podcast, the suffering of coaching or coaching your kids, whichever way you want to look at it. And as always, let's think about all the stuff that we learned. Teach and coach respect to your children. Build them up. Use your resources. Hard work beats talent, especially when talent doesn't work hard. But most importantly, consistency, consistency, consistency. That's going to do it for this episode of the Suffering Podcast. Don't forget, digital business card. Go to popple.com, put in the code TSP20 for a nice 20% discount. You can always listen before you watch. All of our audio episodes come out on Sunday before they air on Monday on YouTube. Follow us on all social media. That's LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, Clapper, Instagram, and please comment with everything. I want you to share our episodes as much as possible. Don't forget to follow the Suffering Podcast on Instagram. Follow Mike at Mike_Failce and follow me at Real Kevin Donaldson. And we will see you on the next episode.